Hey everybody, thank you so much for being here. We are going to get started here just any minute. We have one more person coming to walk in, so just giving you an official, 2-minute warning there. If you are, here for the Bigger Than Biolab press conference, you found the place. This is us. Glad that you are here. We're going to be hearing from a couple different people today. I'm going to go ahead and ask them to one by one come up and say their name and spell it and say their organization so that you have it. That should also have been on the media advisory sent out. But I'll follow up with you and send it to you myself right after if you need it still. First, we're going to ask our friends from East Palestine, Ohio to come up, introduce themselves. If you would just spell your name and your affiliation.
Thank you guys for joining us today. My name is Jamie Wallace. That's Jami. There's no E on it. Wallace, Wallace. And I am the president and founder of the Unity Council for the East Palestine Train Derailment, and also the founder of the Chemically Impacted Communities Coalition. So East Palestine comes here to Georgia today to show solidarity with our brothers and sisters that have suffered from another chemical disaster. And we're coming together to show that this is not just an issue in Georgia. It's not just an issue in East Palestine. It's not just an issue in Bhopal, India. This is an issue for all Americans. And what we have decided to do is we have decided to take the fighters from all the different chemically impacted communities around the United States and join together. The formation of the Chemically Impacted Communities Coalition, we kind of have three goals. One is preventative, to go into other communities and tell them what they can do to prevent these disasters, to have an emergency response plan in place. The second part is to be a resource for other chemically impacted communities. So if something like this does happen in your community, you have a resource to go to for information, to hook you up with the contacts you need. And the last part of it is to make systemic changes in our system. We see the same playbook, we call it, at every chemical disaster. And this goes back. Today is the 40th anniversary of the chemical disaster in Bhopal, India. So even though I'm in Georgia supporting Rockdale County, my heart is with Bhopal. They are actually introducing a resolution that was introduced this morning to the Senate to declare December 3rd National Chemical Disaster Awareness Day. It was introduced by Senator Merkley of Oregon. So he is supporting this and showing solidarity with chemically impacted communities. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's awareness. We also have communities like Love Canal. It's been over 40 years. We have Times Beach, Missouri. We have Cancer Alley. We have issues all over our country with these chemicals, and it's time for us to stand up and to make a stance about this. We need to set our party allegiances aside. No one called me on February 2nd of 2023 and said, before this train derails here and we blow up 5 tankers of vinyl chloride, are you guys red or blue in that area? This is not about politics. This is about human health. This is an issue for every American. It doesn't matter what your religion is, what your race is, or what your political affiliation is. And today I call on our legislators to set those party lines aside and realize that this could be your constituents tomorrow. This could be your family, your kids suffering from these chemicals tomorrow. We need money for research. We need to make these systemic changes. Senator Vance from Ohio, now VP-elect Vance, has written 4 letters of support for East Palestine. 3 letters to Michael Regan asking for dioxin testing, asking for indoor air testing, and asking to declare a public health emergency in East Palestine. He has also urged President Biden to give us the disaster declaration that we need. Almost 2 years later, they just found 14 more pockets of chemicals in our community. How long do we have to sit in this chemical soup before we get a federal declaration of disaster? We're hoping that he continues his support and that we can get some movement on the federal level, but this involves all levels of governments. We didn't ask for this. You didn't ask for this. This is not an issue of politics. This is an issue of human health. So I urge every American to take notice, it will happen again. It's not a matter of if it'll happen, it's when, if we don't make changes. So we're standing here in solidarity with our friends of Rockdale County, and they are joining our Chemically Impacted Communities Coalition, and we plan to make a difference. So I thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you so much again. That is the Chemically Impacted Communities Coalition, which came out of the Unity Council on the East Palestine Train derailment. And we're very excited. These organizers, these residents are going to be with us again tonight at 6:30 at the Movement Church in Conyers in Rockdale County. And we're going to be talking about their experiences and what we can learn from them. And now I want to turn it over to someone who is from Rockdale, who's been involved in this organizing, and they can really tell us more about kind of the view from the ground there, and that is Madeline Reese.
Thanks, Paul. As Paul said, my name is Madeline Reese. I'm a resident. Thank you. Madelyne, Reese, Reece. I'm a resident of Rockdale County. I've lived in Rockdale for just a handful of years now. And since September 29th, I have learned the weight and understanding of what it is to be ignored. Ignored by BioLab, who, after multiple incidents, couldn't be inconvenienced enough to improve their safety protocols and procedures. Ignored by Rockdale County government, who couldn't be bothered to answer the community's questions we've asked time and time again, who've dodged responsibility, and who continue to not answer the question, will BioLab be allowed to continue to manufacture in Rockdale County? Over the last several months, I've also had the pleasure of getting to know people, individuals in other chemically impacted communities. And to Jamie's point, I have learned this is not just a Rockdale County problem. This isn't just a BioLab problem. This is an everyone problem. If this hasn't hit your home, your neighborhood, your mother's neighborhood yet, it will. This happens every week in this country. And it will continue to happen unless we stand together, get organized, and push our elected officials to stand up for us. We need real legislative change. We need firmer restrictions and protocols for companies that manufacture chemicals. We need real repercussions when those protocols aren't adhered to, and we need real support for communities that are affected, the aftermath, like Rockdale County right now. I am so excited about this Chemically Impacted Communities Coalition being formed. I think this is an incredible step in the right direction. Those of us in Rockdale, we felt alone in this bubble. And it's incredible to see others getting involved, and the more people get involved, the bigger the change we can see. Get involved even if this hasn't happened in your community, because again, it is only a matter of time in the direction that we're going. And lastly, to our elected officials, city, county, state, federal, you have been put in a position of authority and power with the intent of protecting the communities you serve. And I am asking you to do that. I'm asking you to get involved. That's all.
Thank you so much. Again, that was Madeline Reese. And coming up next is one of our amazing local organizers, Ifat Walker with Community Action Now. And if you would just restate your name and spell that out for them.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name is Ifat Walker. I am the Executive Director of Community Action Now. We're a nonprofit that was formed in Rockdale County back in 2014. So we've been not only a friend of the community, a member of the community, I'm also a resident in Rockdale County. We shouldn't be standing here before you, quite honestly. We shouldn't even be here, none of us. East Palestine shouldn't be here. Representatives, Rockdale County residents should not be here to talk about something as preventable as a chemical spill. It's absolutely ridiculous. But we're here. We're here because accountability has not taken place in the way that it should have taken place. We're here because our elected officials did not take the necessary steps initially, and I'm going to speak directly to that really quickly. One of the things that you all may have seen most recently is a petition specifically to revoke the business license. Any business in any county, any city, municipality must have a business license in order to operate. That's the first order of business, and that is the most obvious thing to have done. When I speak to our elected officials, I'm speaking specifically to the point of simply not revoking a business license for a company that has repeatedly placed the lives of individuals in danger. This is absolutely ridiculous that we're here today. But since we're here, we invite you to come out with us this evening and stand in solidarity with us in East Palestine, Rockdale County, the neighboring communities of DeKalb County, even those in Fulton County, Newton County, Walton County, that have been directly impacted by the negligence of KIC corporations, BioLab, and every subsidiary connected to that company. Speaking from a resident's point of view, we want accountability on every single level. Are we placing blame on any specific elected official directly? We are saying that you have a responsibility to the community and to those that have elected you. I appreciate our county elected officials that have launched a lawsuit against BioLab, but we need you to take it a step further and simply use the ordinances that you have the responsibility of upholding, and that is that of shutting down the business license. As anyone knows, business license is governed by the county government under the business license office. Very obvious. So we would like for our elected officials, before they leave office this year, because their term for 2 at least will be up in a few days, and I know people are going on vacation. I believe the residents of Rockdale County would like for you to simply revoke the business license. It takes 2 votes. 2 people are going out. We've got 1 coming that is remaining, and we have 2 more that are coming in. Don't leave that responsibility on the incoming. You have an opportunity to do it now and to enforce that through your business license in office. That would help us in the demands that we have set forth. It doesn't make sense to launch a lawsuit when you could have just revoked the business license. In addition, what else does Rockdale County residents want? They want KIC laboratories to be out of our community, specifically BioLab. We want continued enforcement of companies that produce chemicals that are harmful to the residents to have continuous oversight on a regular basis, and for everyone that is responsible for that oversight to be held accountable at every single level. And that means for those inspectors that are coming in, ensuring that chemicals are placed in where they're supposed to be placed. That means for every state official that is ensuring that the licensing on the state level, beyond the county level, is done in a proper manner. We have many companies in Rockdale County outside of BioLab that quite honestly pose the same potential harm to the community. And what we would like for you to do at this point moving forward is to enforce the rules that are already there. We're not asking you to implement anything new. Do what you are responsible for doing already. Again, we invite you to come out tonight. What is it, 6 o'clock? 6:30 p.m. At the Movement Church. Join us in solidarity. We will see you there tonight. Again, EFAT Walker, Community Action Now. Thank you.
And then I'm just going to go ahead and end us here before we go to any questions with just a couple of fast facts about what the movement has accomplished so far, what we're moving towards. The first is I want to make sure that everyone is clear that as we see it, the enemy is the company. This is management's fault. This is the company's fault. This isn't the workers' fault. They are firing scores of workers right now under what justification we don't know. And we just want to say on the record that we resist any attempt by the company to try and pass blame off anyone but themselves. They've had at least 6 incidents like this between Westlake, Louisiana and Rockdale County, Georgia in the past 20 years, at least 4 in the past 4 years. So, no, this is a systemic problem, and it's time that the lesson was learned. We have been proactively contacted by over 150 people that have reported different symptoms. Those range from respiratory problems, long-term ailments, nonstop headaches or migraines, to skin peeling off, psoriasis engulfing your leg. I was about to give birth to my kid, but I had to leave town for 2 weeks because I was worried that I would be in a toxic environment when I was giving birth. Those are the kinds of things. We have been personally, just this coalition, in contact with approximately 1,000 local residents so far. Literally not a single one of them has said anything but shut the company down. There's no need to make stuff up about it. We don't have to inflate our position. Every single person there has said, shut it down. And even the ones that were on the fence, after they saw the company refuse to show up to any press conferences this entire time and shirk that responsibility and leave it on Rockdale County, even they flipped and turned. But we feel pretty strong on this mandate. We are pursuing independent medical testing to monitor at-risk subgroups directly in the vicinity of the location. And that's because if, God forbid, symptoms develop in 2 years, 3 years, which is what happened in 2004 when BioLab caught on fire, there weren't reactions right away, but then we have people in this coalition. In fact, I think it's the aunt or the great-aunt of the sheriff of DeKalb County passed away with lung disease along with several of her neighbors. 2006-ish, right after that, they were all very affected by that last big fire. So we want to make sure that if that time comes that we're prepared, and we're talking to some major research institutions in the state, and we'll let you all know as soon as we have that on paper that we can say out loud, but we feel very good about it. And then finally, we are actively in discussions with law firms to determine the best path forward if the county does not revoke the business license. We don't care what name it's under. It can be Duchess of Kalamazoo, Inc., that's fine, as long as it's legally binding. Whoever has that business license ought to revoke it, and they're required to under Section 2239 of the Rockdale County Code of Ordinances. That says they shall revoke the license of any company or person doing business that is proven to be a public health hazard, public nuisance, or the public has demanded it. And since they've already gone to federal court saying that BioLab is all of those things, we see no reason why it should not be taken as proven before the commission that is the case. So yeah, we'll see you tonight if you're coming to that. We'll be able to hear from a lot more residents tonight, and we will take a few questions here. I apologize if I don't have a person up here that is qualified to speak to it. I might just say I'll get back to you or get you contact information for someone that can. But we aren't legal experts, and we are not multiple chemical exposure experts, even though we have some of them that have offered to help.
We've not spoken to them directly. What we have is we've collectively requested for the community, for our county elected officials to revoke the business license. We've not yet received a response. Yes.
We have requested meetings. One person said they were open to it, but then never got back to us when it came time to schedule. Another person said that they would prefer it be with multiple people because they're one of the incoming commissioners and they're not technically, they're not empowered yet. And I'm sure this is a big situation to just inherit. We are expecting an update from Senator Warnock's office next week on, I believe, Wednesday. They had correspondence, we know, with the CEO of KIT Consumer Services Products, and they sent them a detailed request of information about the company's response that was supposed to be due back mid-November, so they should have that now. And so we're looking for some updates from them.
So there are several levels. So I'm going to speak directly to the business license. And it's a shame that we have to even reach out to our elected officials because we have given them the power to provide oversight and to maintain eligible businesses. We shouldn't have to ask them to revoke the license. That should be an order of business. But since we have to, we are going to move forward formally in doing so. In addition to asking for the shutdown as well as the county to revoke the business license, we're working with a couple of different organizations which will make a little more available information within the next few weeks on following the public health component to this. This has not been done in the past in really researching the impact specifically to those within our community, because this has happened on multiple occasions. But now we're intentional about ensuring that we are working with medical institutions specifically in creating a framework around how to create a research around this and also implementing that at the top of the year. So that's something that we are going to be working, specifically our agency is working with 3 different organizations and creating that framework now, and then going out into the community and surveying families and working with them both short-term and long-term, following their health patterns as it relates to this. We're not going to speculate anymore about what we think, and we are actually going to follow and make sure that we have documented research on this and have reputable organizations that are going to follow these families over the next few years. So we're really excited about that. Unfortunately, we shouldn't be so excited about that, but we have to do this. This is the work that has to be done to ensure that we have documented research on how this is impacting families, at least within the 2-mile radius is what we're going to focus on. So be looking out for that. That's one of the things that we are working on.
Can I speak to this real quick?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to speak to the human health effects of this. The elephant in the room that most Americans don't know is there's no research on multiple chemical exposure. So when the EPA gets, say, reportable limits of vinyl chloride, they only expose that subject to vinyl chloride. So our question is, what happens when you're exposed to 50 different chemicals, even if they're right below those reportable limits? The only research that has helped us is Gulf War illness. Dr. Gollum from the University of California, San Diego, worked at the VA when our vets were coming home saying they were sick from the Gulf War. And the VA was saying, give them psych meds, which is what they told residents in East Palestine, that it was psychosis. We weren't really sick. And she said, no, something's up here. Let's listen to their bodies, and she did research. And she was a huge part in getting the PACT Act passed, getting Gulf War illness recognized. She is now in East Palestine studying us, and we're actually working on trying to get money to do a study here in Rockdale County. But the importance of the money for research is that, unfortunately, we're already the guinea pigs. You're not going to be able to take human subjects and expose them to multiple chemicals. We've already been exposed. If my daughter, who's 5 now, has cancer when she's 14, at least I would get some kind of peace knowing that she helped a child in the next community not go through the same health effects that she did. So this money for research is so important. It's so important that we look at chemical disasters. FEMA didn't help us because this was not a disaster that was a natural disaster. So who helps us in these chemical disasters? Norfolk Southern? Zero accountability. We need accountability. We need justice, and we need to learn from these disasters. And our kids are still sick in East Palestine. All the symptoms that you guys were talking about, all symptoms that we saw in East Palestine we're still experiencing. There's still pockets of chemicals, all symptoms that were experienced in Times Beach, Missouri. All symptoms that, Gulf War veterans. These are all the same things that we are seeing, and these short-term symptoms are not the worst of it. The CDC flat out told us in East Palestine, they came in to go door to door and got sick and left and never told anyone. Same symptoms residents were complaining of, the CDC left and never told residents that they even left. When we demanded they come back into our community, they said almost verbatim, we know you've all been exposed. You all have chemicals in your body. We don't know what to do about that, but we can treat the cancers it causes. Not only do we need monitored, but we deserve medical insurance. At the very, very least they can do is provide us with medical insurance so we can make sure that we can afford these treatments, because even private insurances don't cover a lot of this chemical testing. Thank you. So we are a newly formed coalition. We've only had a couple of meetings. At our first meeting, we had 34 different impacted communities that were represented. We had representatives from Love Canal, from Cancer Alley. We had representatives from Piqua, Ohio, where they're burning lithium batteries. I'm trying to think, like, we've had so many, Porter Ranch, California. I don't know if it's the media picks up on it more now or I pay more attention, but these chemical disasters happen almost every day. And you might think, you know, I have soccer practice and I have to make dinner, but when it's your child's life, you would have wished that you would have taken that time. So this is a newly formed coalition, like I said, 35, thank you, Rockdale County, communities so far. Bhopal is our first international member of the Chemically Impacted Community Coalition. And like I said, our goal is really to do the preventive measures. For example, they reroute hazardous trains to areas that are less populated. So what we learned is they take them through the rural areas that are mostly volunteer fire departments. In the state of Ohio, volunteer firefighters don't have to be trained in hazmat. So you're taking the worst chemicals and putting them through communities that have no means to deal with these disasters when they happen. You know, having an emergency response plan, ours haven't been updated since 1989. I mean, do you know if you have an emergency response plan? You know, so that's some of the preventative stuff that we want to work on. And like I said, being a resource. If you're not in this environmental movement, you know, you don't even realize what resources are out there, who to go to for research, who to go to help test your soil. And then the third part is that systemic change. And it's fighting all aspects of chemicals. It's the transport of chemicals, the manufacturing, the storage. You know, if we have to have these chemicals in our communities and they won't just get rid of them, we should at least be safe. If you live next to a chemical plant, there should be some kind of response plan that if that thing does blow, that it's not the chaos that we had the night of February 3rd, 2023. We didn't know where to go to get communication. We had no clue, like, how long are we going to be gone? What do we need to take with us? Like, it was complete chaos. And if I would have known then what I know now, and I could have prevented some of that fear, some of that chaos, some of that not knowing, I wish I would have went into those meetings and had that updated emergency response plan. It's happening again. You know, you talk about being abandoned by your government. I have a JD and a master's in public administration. When they lifted the evacuation in East Palestine, my husband said, well, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to go home. If the EPA says it's okay, it's okay. Because I learned in school what the EPA does. As soon as I pulled in my driveway and I immediately couldn't breathe, chest is burning, lips are tingling, face is on fire, and I look over to the creek that's 10 steps in front of my front door and I see chemicals flowing down the creek, I didn't need the EPA to tell me it wasn't safe to take my daughter home. You know, I didn't need anybody to tell me that that wasn't safe. You know, so making those changes and, you know, our government abandoning us, we still don't have a federal disaster declaration. We're still being exposed 2 years later. Like, it has changed my whole perception of our government. I feel like I've been living in a fake world all these years with a government that I could count on. Our government's been overtaken by money, by the people, you know, that have money or in power, but that's not who built this country. We built this country. Our ancestors built this country. It was our hands, it was the sweat off of our backs, not these people that are now controlling what used to be one of the greatest, you know, countries. Now I'm looking at it, this is not government for the people, by the people. By the time what's going on at this local level gets to the federal level, they're so disconnected from the people on the ground, it's no longer what's going on the ground, it's politics. And like I said, we need to take politics out of this. This is an issue of human health. Did that answer your questions, I hope? Thank you. Obviously, I'm passionate about this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're gonna let Gwen Smith here speak, who's one of our environmental health experts, and then, you know, we can go ahead and then round up individually with anybody that needs to do the follow-up interviews.
Good morning. My name is Gwen Smith, and I'm Executive Director of Community Health, Aligning Revitalization, Resilience, and Sustainability. I just want to build on EFAT and what Jamie has said, and this is specifically in reference to responding and not reacting. This is environmental justice travesty. We have the Emergency Preparedness Community Right to Know Act. That is the plan, but it's not executed, and it's not executed at the expense of each and every resident that lives within 3 to 5 miles of one of these chemical plants. We need every representative in the state of Georgia to look at the counties that they have up under them and demand that they implement their local emergency planning committees. This Emergency Preparedness Community Right to Know Act up under the EPA is an act. This is law. And it says that these local emergency planning committees must meet. They must include these community organizations that she's mentioned. If you have a risk management plan facility in your neighborhood, as a resident, you have a right to know that these facilities are there, that they have chemicals, and that they might explode, and what the harm to you might be. It is the responsibility of the local emergency planning committee to put an emergency plan together, like Jamie was speaking about. Why does the Emergency Preparedness Community Right to Know Act exist? It exists because this day in 1988, there was an explosion in Bhopal, India. And the EPA said, wow, we need to think. We don't want 2,000 people to be deathly ill or die because of a chemical explosion in our community. So we need to do something because the community members have a right to know that this could happen at any time. So we all buy things. We all need gas. We want to go swimming in swimming pools. However, we have a right to know how to protect ourselves. We have a right to know what is the worst case scenario that could happen. If you're in our community and what you do might make us ill, and if having a gas mask, a P100 mask might protect us, maybe what you need to do is buy one for everyone within 3-mile radius. I mean, do your part. How greedy can you be not to take the health of your neighbors? You are corporate citizens. You get to lobby. You get to get your vote. You get to get the ear of my representative. Well, then act like a neighbor. And representatives of the state of Georgia, we need every county's local emergency planning committee active. There are not many. They are not funded, and that is wrong. I live in Fulton County. I have 4 risk management plan facilities within 3 miles of my home. Me and my neighbors, our lives are not expendable. It is not fair. The media, you guys, do you know that you're supposed to be on that local emergency planning committee? Along with the hospitals, the police, the fire departments, because we need the message out. We need everybody to know that our lives are not expendable, and we need to know what's in the community and how we could get hurt. So what would be very important is you can get the message out that we need these local emergency planning committees active. Thank you.
The media can save lives, just so you guys know. People don't take media serious enough, and as soon as you guys quit being here and filming this, we're left for dead. So take your job seriously and spread the word.
Thank you, everybody. We will be sure to follow up and make sure you get any one-on-ones that you need. And yeah, we appreciate you being here today.